Hey everybody, this is Sean, and today I'm going to be baking another bread for you. This is my rye bread recipe, complete with pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds in there. It turns into a delicious, nutty bread that is fairly easy to do, especially if you've done my French bread, because the recipe has very tiny variations from that same one. So stick around, here comes the ingredients, and get ready to bake some bread. The ingredients we're going to be using today are 2.5 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour, 1 cup of a dark rye flour. You're going to need a tablespoon of sugar, a tablespoon of olive oil, a tablespoon of salt, 1 egg, a tablespoon of traditional yeast, and 1 1/4 cups of water. And then we're also going to be using some sesame seeds and pumpkin seeds. You want 20% of these toasted by weight compared to the flour. I did the math, and that works out to about, I've got like 3/4 cups of things in here, 1/2 cup of toasted pumpkin seeds, and 1/4 cup of the toasted sesame seeds. I also have a few of them set aside just for us to sprinkle on the top for decoration. So with the ingredients out of the way, I'm going to go over to the mixer, and we'll start with step 1. For step 1, we're starting at the mixer. I've rinsed it out with warm water just so that the steel is warm. And I'm going to add my water in. And then we're going to get the yeast in there. And 1 tablespoon of our traditional bread yeast. Stir that around. We're going to leave it here for 15 minutes, and I'll see you guys then. Now that we've waited 15 minutes and allowed the yeast to bloom, we're ready to go. I'm going to start off by adding in a tablespoon of salt, then a tablespoon of sugar. I've got the oil and the egg ready to go, pre-measured. Makes it easier when I'm filming. And now it's time to get our flour of both types in there. Got 1, 2, and another. It's 2.5 cups total of white flour. And then we go for what makes this bread special and grab the dark rye flour. Then we get that in there. And that's all the ingredients that we put in at this point. We're going to add the nuts actually partway through the kneading process, because if you put them in there earlier, they break down into small pieces, and they can actually ruin the glutens of your bread, and it ends up denser. You don't get as good of a quality. From here, I'm going to put the dough hook on, and then we'll get kneading. Okay, dough hook is on, and we're ready to go. We're going to raise this into position, and then I'm going to mix it on speed 2 for about a minute. You're waiting until the dough starts to pull away from the sides and is all in one mass. After that, we're going to continue to beat on speed 2 for another minute afterwards. This is the start of the kneading process. Then we're going to take a break so that we can add our nuts. So I'm going to get this thing started, and I'll see you when it's nut time. Okay, we've let it go for about 2 minutes now. I had to add a little bit of extra moisture because it wasn't acting quite properly. It's been a little bit dry here recently, and rye flour might be taking a bit more than I expected. But now it's time for our nuts. These guys actually do take in some of the moisture, so I'm glad I've made it a little bit extra wet. And like I said earlier, they have been toasted first. So now I'm going to bring this back into position. Okay, so now that our nuts are in there, I'm going to turn the mixer on again for another minute or so until everything is together and it seems to be kind of a springy dough. So here we go. Okay, now that our loaf has had time to knead together, and you can see that it's all starting to get tight, still a bit sticky, but that's not really a problem. I'm gonna set this into a oiled bowl, cover it for an hour to let it proof, and then it'll be time to shape it. So for now, I'm gonna go sit back on my couch for an hour, set a timer, and see you guys in a bit. After an hour of proofing, our dough has doubled in bulk. I was a little bit worried because I know the seeds make it a bit denser and sometimes it doesn't proof as well. So from here, we're going to get it out onto our silpat that I've lightly dusted with flour. You don't need too much with the silpat, and that's just because this is moist and I don't want it to stick. So let's start with that. Okay. Our dough out. It is nice and moist. We're gonna want to roll it a bit, trying to keep it about 20 centimeters or 8 inches wide, because that's about the width of my bread pan, and it's going to have to fit in there. Let's just get some of that air out. A little bit of a massage after it's been proofing. Everyone likes a massage after they've been sitting in a sauna. We roll this up. You want to push it nice and tight, because if you don't, you're going to get gaps in your bread on the inside. You'll still have delicious bread, but it'll dry out faster. Ooh. There we go. Squish that down a size a bit. And we've got ourselves our seedy loaf, just about ready for its final rise. But you can't forget the topping. Now I didn't toast the pumpkin seeds that are in here. The sesame seeds I got pre-toasted because I'm cheap. But that should hopefully keep them from burning. And I've only got enough for half of the loaf. So I'm going to get some of the extras off of there and onto the other side for us. There we go. It's nice seedy boys everywhere. Okay. Get the rest of those on there. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's a rustic rye loaf anyway, I suppose. But sometimes you just want to make sure those seeds are on there. Okay.
Seedy boys.
Yeah, those seedy boys. Okay, now that you've got your toppings on your loaf, it's time to go into your bread pan. I've pre-greased my pan, just so that nothing gets stuck in there. I'm going to cover this and set it aside on my stove where it's nice and warm for another hour or until it doubles in size. I'm pretty much going to leave it for the whole hour anyway, just because it takes longer for it to rise when it's got those seeds in there. Towards the end of that period, you're going to want to turn your oven up to about 450 degrees Fahrenheit if you have a non-convection oven. And then right before this is done rising, we drop that down to 400 degrees, which is the temperature that we'll be baking our bread at. So I will see you guys in an hour once this is done rising. And there we go. Our bread has been rising for an hour. It's increased in size substantially, and those seeds on the top are looking amazing. My oven was preheated to 475 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and lower that to 400 degrees now, and then pop my bread in there. After 20 minutes, we're going to turn the pan around. And then 20 minutes after that, the bread should be ready to go. Or when this is a nice dark golden brown. My oven is slow, so most likely it's going to be in there for a total of 45 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pop this in there now, and I'll see you guys when we have some delicious bread. It's been 45 minutes and our bread is out of the oven and looking great. I actually covered the top with tinfoil for the last 10 minutes just to make sure the seeds didn't get too brown, because they were starting to color pretty good there, as you can see from that guy right in the middle. I'm going to get this out of the pan, and then we can give it a look. And there we go. One delicious, nutty loaf of rye bread. The only thing left to do is wait for 15 minutes while this thing cools down. Because if you cut into your bread right away, you're going to release all of the moisture in it as steam, and your bread is going to dry out really quickly. So if you want to have a good slice of bread later on, then you need to make sure to let your bread cool down. This isn't as much of an issue if you're going to eat it all right away, but we like to have sandwiches during the week, and I'm hoping that there'll be some of this left tomorrow. Okay, now that it's rested and it's cooled down, we won't lose all the steam from in here. It's time to cut into our bread and see how it turned out. Ooh. Get another slice off there. And there you go. We've got our delicious, seedy rye bread. Perfect for sandwiches or with soup like we're going to do today. Just going to give that a little taste. Delicious. It's got a dark flavor from the rye in there. Nice little nutty bits from the toasted nuts that I put in. Just a wonderful bread overall. It's something that you should definitely try making. I also have a recipe for white bread that you can check out if you haven't had it. Otherwise, take a look through my other videos. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss the next recipe I do. And have yourselves a great night, everybody. Bye.